Whoa now, what's happening? This is the Maniacal Menace Councilman speaking from the future about the past and the present. Keep it up, keep going, strive to do your best. Stay safe out there, protest, go out and vote if you can. Live your life, chase that dream. Affirmations for a good time. Listen up and enjoy these words. You can follow me at ManiacalMenace.com or Maniacal Menace on Instagram. That's ManiacalMenace. I think it's time to blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
Hello.
Yeah, that looks better.
Yeah. Let's raise it up. All right. Well, what's up? Back at it. Welcome back to another edition of Tell Me a Joke, the guideline of chasing the dream. And today, I have somebody that's dear to me that I have known for some time now, and somebody that I am inspired by because of the things that she does. Honey Tangerine.
Hi.
Hi, honey. How's it going?
I'm good.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. It's good to see you. I'm glad we got to have this time to talk. So just I guess you want to just like fill people in on like everything that you do.
Okay. Mostly, I guess I'm a burlesque dancer in New Orleans. I'm a producer of a bunch of shows, so I have like a monthly variety show called Tangerine Dreams, and then I do some more kind of like avant-garde and experimental stuff. Like I have Burlesque Imitates Art, which is where we combine visual artists and performance artists, and put out kind of a multimedia experience with that. And then I do like burlesque parody plays, which is actually how I met you, Kyle.
Yes. Opening the realm for more talent to come in. It's just like, oh, this is good. I didn't know I had this side. Well, I mean, I've done it before, but it's good to actually know that I can expound on my entertainment besides just doing stand-up, knowing that there's other outlets that I can also delve into, like Tit. Tit was just,
Yeah.
oh man, it was
that was a special experience.
It was very
I feel
fun.
like
It was very trap doors and everything. Like that was the closest that I've gotten to like theater. Like when it comes to like being backstage, wardrobe changes and stuff like that. Like I've done it, but not in like a legit state, like a legit area like that, to where like I've never seen the aspect of like the trap doors and being able to go under the stage and all that. That was really cool. Like
I do think that that's like also a thing is that it's hard to find like a space that allows you to do a show like that now too, and so the theater that we were able to get to do Stephen King's Tit was like really like, state of the art, good dressing room, multiple entrances everywhere. I was like really the jackpot there.
That was definitely a jackpot. That was definitely a jackpot move right there. But that was amazing theater as well. How long have you been writing and doing like? How long have you been writing stories?
Okay, so well, I started doing burlesque about 10 years ago. This is my 10-year anniversary this year. And I would say that a good friend of mine, Piccola Tushy, she brought down this the idea of like the burlesque parody play, and I feel like that's really the moment when I kind of realized that burlesque in itself is actually like the telling of a story. So that was like sort of, I think, the jumping off maybe like 7 years ago that I kind of started on that journey of like, even just in individual acts, you're kind of working from, a start point to an end point and telling a story in between.
Right.
So.
Oh, that's awesome. Did you, growing up, did you always aspire to be what you are now, or was it something different?
So I also have just changed my name recently.
Oh, really?
I did, right?
Okay.
I changed it back to my legal name, my given name, because when I was born, my parents named me CeCe Dynamite.
Okay.
And they did that just in case I ever wanted to grow up to be a stripper. So... So I wouldn't necessarily say that.
That's very helpful. Yeah.
Right,
They were thinking ahead.
I definitely like aspired when I was younger to be like kind of this big, champion of like human rights and stuff like that. But like most people with that aspiration, I basically just ended up being an artist because I think you can, push your human rights agenda through your art anyway.
Basically, I have a platform, I shall speak now.
Somebody handed me a microphone and I was like, well, that was your mistake.
My turn. Wow. So you went back to CeCe Dynamite.
Yeah, so I just started. Like,
okay.
So.
How does that affect the shows or anything? Does that change the name of the shows now?
No, so I'm still keeping Honey Tangerine Productions up and running, but
Might as well.
But yeah, I'm just personally starting because I just am tired of answering to so many names. I'm trying to narrow it down. But it's hard because I do, like I said, I've been doing it for 10 years, so I do have some name recognition that's kind of like, people are like, CeCe Dynamite, and then I show up and they're like, oh, it's Honey! Yeah, we know her!
That's very... Oh, wow. So how... see, that's always a good thing, especially when it comes to branding and when people look at branding. Like, how do you know when you should stick with one thing? Like, because I, myself... I want to go around calling myself the Maniacal Menace. Kyle Smith say like the whole thing, like Pimp Name Stickback. But it's very difficult when I go to certain places, because most of the time people look at the word and they're like, I don't know how to say this, and I'm like, well, shit. All right, so I tell people, and for some reason, when you tell certain people certain things, like you said it correct, but as they say it, it's like that's not what I said at all. Like, why? How? I just told it to you. How can you not? Like, just mimic exactly what I said.
And it's that, like, the difficulty between, like, audio and visual processing there. Because it is, like, spelled strangely. Like, not how you would think that it's spelled.
Yeah, people look at it, and it's like, maniacal? And I'm like, maniacal. And they're like, is that how you spell?
The maniacal.
Yeah, and I'm like, shit, this is going to be a problem. It seems like this is going to be a difficult problem to deal with unless I just get in people's faces and be like, maniacal menace, and just keep going with that. But, then when it comes to spelling it and shit, it's just so, I just want to, blast it everywhere, but I don't know if it's something that I should keep. Well, I have it on everything almost now.
Yeah.
Like, I even got my logo with it on it. So it's just like, shit.
I think you just gotta keep pushing it out there, Because over the years, I've gotten a lot of, like, interesting variations on Honey Tangerine also. Like, one person was like, oh my god, your act was so good. What was your name? Honey Melon? And I'm like... No, but like you guessed a fruit, so I guess it's close.
That works. I guess so. You're in the ballpark, man. But she was thinking of honeydews, huh?
Maybe, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So what was the thought process behind the name change? Why the name change in the first place?
Well, so for like, I have two jobs, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of them is that I work costumes in the film industry,
right?
And the other one is that I produce and perform burlesque. And they're both like really intense full-time jobs, and I'm not sure why I'm choosing to do them both. But
Really intense.
like they're both like 20 hours a day of work. But I think that in film, a lot of people call me CeCe and CeCe Dynamite because that's the name that comes up on all my paperwork, and that's like how I'm known there. And it just, is kind of this thing that as they both, become like really big parts of my life, rather than allowing me to like be completely like torn apart and, pulled in every direction by these two things, maybe trying to kind of marry both of my like artistic endeavors and my life and everything, and reunite myself as one person
Right,
instead of just
basically.
being like a many personality like enigma.
CeCe and the honey need to fuse together.
Yeah.
Wow, that's something I've never. This is as far as I'd probably go with the name, especially if it like it's gonna stick, but I don't think I need to make it any more difficult than what it is now.
Mm-hmm.
It's as long as I can get people on the spelling of it, and it makes a ring. I like alliteration, so hence the MM words. But I could always narrow it down to just M&Ms and stuff like that. But then it's like, no, there's
But
too
then you
many
might
M&Ms in
lose
the word.
also the point, like
exactly.
the message.
Yeah, so it's just like, all right.
Well, and it's also like an interesting thing, like with, like between burlesque and like stand-up comedy, like there's still a lot of like kind of stigma around doing burlesque, even the more comedical side of it too. Like it's still sort of like, oh, but you still like took your clothes off for money. And so a lot of people, like having a stage name is almost like protective to a lot of people. And so also the fact that I've been at it for 10 years and I'm so known already makes me more confident to go by my legal name, but I probably wouldn't, or I literally didn't when I first started out. But like in stand-up comedy, you want people to know who you are and your name and stuff, and like you don't mind that if it's not as scary if it comes out in your day job. They're like, oh, you do stand-up comedy? Well, we're all going to get the office together and go to your open mic. And like...
your day job is like, that's a difference.
Yeah.
That's a difference. It's like, I want y'all to see me.
But yeah, at burlesque, you're like, you weigh your coworkers and you're like, that one's the cool one. I'm going to tell them to come with their sister, but no one else can know.
Oh, that is nice. How did your parents think about it when you started doing burlesque?
I don't think I ever really like fully got their opinion on it.
Oh, yeah?
Like I was just sort of like, hey, I'm doing burlesque now, and they were both like, oh. And my dad has come to see a show. My brother's come to see a show. My mom has just tried to come see shows a couple times, but she's afraid that she's gonna get protective.
Oh, wow.
So she keeps being like, I'm gonna come, and then she's like, I didn't come, but I just bought a ticket online.
Just to support. Oh, that's nice.
So they're supportive, but they're sort of like, I don't know I don't think they really get it.
Okay. So what did your parents do? Because your upbringing, did your upbringing have anything to do with how or what you do now?
Yeah, definitely. My parents were both theater majors in college, and they met each other in an improv group.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
this is a real
The
wholesome
cuteness.
story.
Yeah.
So so there's definitely like a lot of like theater around and that kind of thing, and also because they went to college for theater, most of their friends were LGBT or like queer adjacent humans. And I grew up in New York City, so I did spend a lot of time around like drag clubs and cabaret clubs and things like that.
That's
So
amazing upbringing right there.
So it kind of just in the interest of exposing us to a broad range of theater and theatrical and cultural experiences, I ended up here in New Orleans taking
Perfect place for all of that.
taking a drag and cabaret stage almost every weekend.
There you go. That's amazing. So, what gave you the idea for Tangerine Dreams?
Well, I've always lived in Mid City as long as I've lived in New Orleans because I really love the neighborhood, and it's the middle of everything, so it's so close to everything. But you know, for like live performances and stuff, there's a lot of music in every neighborhood, but you know, burlesque and cabaret and drag really tends to stay downtown in the corridor and a little in the Bywater. And I was just sort of tired of always having to drive so far to get to my gig, so I was like, we're gonna do a monthly variety show at a well-known bar in Mid-City, Bank Street Bar, and, you know, see what happens. And it's the longest running show in Mid-City. We've been doing it for about somewhere between 7 and 5 years. It's
nice.
hard for me to know exactly because the bar switched owners halfway through, and we took a 1-year hiatus, and then we came back. But yeah, we're still doing it. The next one is this coming Sunday, the 26th.
Sweetness.
Yeah.
Well, how often do you write like scripts and plays like? Is that something that you tend to like pop out every so often? Do you try to keep that on a schedule or whenever you feel like writing one?
So my husband, Lucky Strikeout, is it's a good name.
The name's just amazing.
Lucky Strikeout. He's also a local author known as Joaquin Emiliano, and so he's a writer, and he writes burlesque parodies like more often than I do. But he and I collaborate when there's like a project that's really interesting to us. Like Stephen King's Tit was something we came up with in the airport together, and then we were just like, no, like we really can do this. Like we can really put this together, you know, rather than just like spitballing. I think we have plans to write one based on the show Lost coming up. But he actually like writes out burlesque plays for hire, so like troops can hire him if they want to put something like that together, and he'll write it and script consult and all of that. Whereas I'm just like, oh, I'm a really big fan of this one thing. Let's make it into a show. A little less organized about the process for me.
Oh, that's awesome. Like, cause I just thought it was like in your repertoire of things that you do is like, all right, I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna have these shows, and then boom, at the end of this month, I'm gonna just put out a big production and then go from there. Cause I mean that was just all around what went into doing Tit. I was just like, oh, this is amazing. Just to have everything together. Like once I see professionalism or just somebody going a step further, like than what I would know to take it, I'm like, oh, this is I wouldn't know how to do any of this. Like you got a whole place that's the process that I always look forward into learning, like the next step of just like how to find a venue, like how you know what's gonna work where, and you know just going from there. Like is it hearsay? Did somebody like tip you off about like, hey, this is a good spot to do it, or you just already knew of places?
A lot of it is like a trial and error situation. So like I mentioned Piccola Tushy before, but like the Blue Stockings, the troupe that she produced, was kind of the proprietary troupe for burlesque plays when they first showed up in New Orleans. And Piccola did like a lot of work to make sure that she could find a space that had like the accommodations that she needed. They were based off of, you know, the accommodations she'd had and seen in Chicago where she was bringing the play from. But in New Orleans, we don't really have the same kind of facilities that they have in Chicago, especially because like really impossible to own a business down here too.
Yeah.
So people keep trying, and then it's like shut down. City Hall was like, no, we need more money. So it is like kind of a trial. Like sometimes you're like, okay, well, we were gonna do it in this really nice theater that had all these accommodations, but something happened with City Hall and they can't have a show the weekend that we wanted to. So now we have to like go to the next place and kind of fly by the seat of our pants, trying to figure out how we're gonna make entrances and exits on this place that only has like one entrance to the stage that comes right from the audience, and like kind of. That trial and error thing, but also like knowing what you need and what you're going to look for is also sort of an experience thing. Mm-hmm. The more times that you've had to like rig a shower curtain on the side of the stage so that there was another backstage area, the more times you're like, okay, the shower curtain could work, but I really don't want to do it that way this time. So.
That is true. Oh man, that is good. Yeah, because I've never gotten into the aspect where I've had to, besides when I did Inquisitor's Observations, I just already knew of a place that had another place in it that I wanted to use, and so I was like, okay, this is good. So I haven't had to really do too much of the legwork when it came to that. I just kind of I've already stuck with some place in my mind. I'm like, all right, I feel comfortable here. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna just continue doing things here, and it made it easier. But if there were places out here that we could just put on better productions that you wouldn't have to shoot an arm and a leg for, it would be it would make things in the city go by a little more smoothly. I would assume.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are trying to, and so there's always like new spaces coming up, and I'm always really hopeful for them. But it's hard to get anything done in New Orleans.
Yeah. There's so much happening down here. Yeah. Like I'm glad that I got the spontaneous show running and all that, but it'd be nice if they had like more poetry mics out here. That's what I've kind of wanted to see, more of a space for that, or something that I would have probably I would have liked to have started one, but it's always strange building something from the start and seeing who's going to come and who's going to want to come and why they're going to come. So, yeah.
But there's a lot of like really artistic people who live here and who are like, drawn to here also, like who just come visit and stuff. So, it's difficult to get things like off the ground, but once they're there, the community like utilizes them and they want them. So it's sort of this like a catch-22 moment where you're like, oh, it's going to be like a lot of work to get this up and running, but then it's also like, but it's going to be really rewarding once it is. So like,
so you're a seamstress. Do you ever get tired of sewing?
Yes. Yeah. A lot. I've been sewing since I was 8.
Oh, jeez.
And it's one of my like primary professions, and I do a lot of like sewing on the fly and like emergency repair or so like a sudden quick hem and things like that, and that's the fun stuff. But then like, if somebody's like, hey, can you make me this like jacket from scratch, and I like go through the process of getting the pattern and like the measuring and stuff, it's like sometimes it's very hard for me to will myself to like sit down at the machine and get it done. And it's something that's over in like 3 hours, but I'm like, no.
Oh yeah, that's it. Time. That's all it would take.
Not always. It takes a lot of time sometimes, but it's like that. Like I'll like cut a whole pattern out and have it ready, and it just like sits there, and I'm like, it could be done now, but
just get into it. It's like
it's on the bottom of the to-do list.
I can just imagine. Oh man! So what are your what are the more funner things to do since you do seamstress besides like so I guess the hemming on the fly would be. But do you also crochet?
No, I know how to knit, but I'm not very good at it. So that's just like just for fun doing the knitting. But I would say that like with burlesque costuming, there's like embellishing, like adding like rhinestones and beads and stuff, and I love that.
Yeah.
And that aspect of costuming is always really fun. And on the other side of that, like when I'm working on a film, a lot of the times I'm called to do like stunts or scenes that have like gunshots or like cool stuff like that. And so I get like kind of called to do like kind of on the fly aging down of like process. Like it's like, okay, well they got shot, so we got to put a bullet hole in, and then you like cut it and you sand it and you put the dirt and the blood and like awesome.
Oh, okay.
That's my favorite stuff.
Yeah, fuck yeah, like some forensics type shit.
Yeah,
let's make this
like looking up on my phone a picture of like a knife wound.
Oh, that is cool shit. I never would even imagine that would be part of the job. Like not even constructing but deconstructing.
Yeah, so often, and like if somebody gets like a glass of wine spilled on them in a scene, or they get like pushed and their coat rips, or like whatever, like that's where we come in and do that.
Oh shit.
On set, and it's really fun. And I was like, of course, like once I was doing it, once somebody's like, this is your job, I was like, well, obviously it's somebody's job. It's always been.
Somebody's gotta do it.
But when I got into costuming and film stuff, like I didn't really think about how that was going to be a bunch of the job until somebody was like, you got to get over there and cut that because there's like they need a hole in it. I was like, what?
They gotta ruin the denim? Oh, yeah, that is wild. You know what else is wild? How y'all meticulously rhinestone the shit out of things. Oh my god! I'm like, just as certain things that I have seen bedazzled, just amazes me how much intricacy it would take to have to sit down there and do such a tedious task.
Yeah, and the worst is when you're at home and you're doing it, and you're like in your rhinestone zone, and you're like, this is so good, like this is the most rhinestones I've ever put anywhere, like this is about to be awesome, and then you like get a photo of you wearing it on stage, and you're like, it's not enough fucking rhinestones. We gotta put more rhinestones on it.
It's not enough rhinestones.
There's never enough. It's like an unending bucket
full. We're gonna need more cowbell. Oh my god.
We need to be seen from space. Sparkle that
that's
shit.
So silly. Oh man. I've mentioned one of these performers last time. I had Xena on. I talked to Xena, and we've all mentioned that there's this one performer that's just amazing every time we see him. Eros, and it's just like the beautiful man. First off, and secondly, the concepts for his costumes.
Yeah,
just to where like he came 3 layers deep with the costume on, got down to where motherfucker had snow. I'm like, where do you get snow from? I've never seen. Like I've seen many performers get into it, but that was the first time I was like, oh, you've put thought in like just everything behind this, and I was like, wow, I know if I were to get in this, it wouldn't be that much. It wouldn't be that much effort. There's a lot of effort that goes down. It's like, oh, okay.
Well, it's also like with Eros especially, like he's so fucking funny. Like all of his performances are like even when they're like really serious, there's this like little flash behind his eyes, like that he knows that this is so extra that you're just like can't handle it, and there's like this kind of always this level, this like undercurrent of like joy and like humor to that he's like yes, there is snow in here. Also, I'm about to put another costume on,
another one,
and then take it off again in the same act. Like, yes, there's more. And I just love that, like that energy that he has, where he's just like.
It is a very enjoyable time to watch all of y'all, especially just for the thoughts that y'all have behind the act. and just to actually to get into it. That looks like the fun aspect of it right there. Just to be able to come up with the character and then perform that character. How do you come up with an act?
So for me, my process is a little like strange because like I'm really drawn to the two aspects of burlesque that I'm drawn to the most are the comedic side of it, like that it's funny that I'm taking my clothes off on stage because watching people strip is funny and naked people are funny. And these are just like the truth. And then the other side of it too is that I love when there's like almost a like an aspect of like a close-up magic to the reveal. Like it's like a misdirection. You're looking at a glove over here and then suddenly the dress is gone. Like what happened? So I love that kind of stuff. So with me, creating an act usually centers either around something that I think is a really clever joke. Like one of my most like popular acts that's retired now, I called it the Shatner Fangirl, and it was to the fifth dimension, Come On and Marry Me, Bill. And I had a little framed portrait of William Shatner, and I stripped out of like a Star Trek Starfleet uniform into like bridal lingerie and just sort of like cried over this photo of William Shatner because Bill's never going to show up to the wedding day, and I was like, that's so funny that I'm like going all the way in on it.
Definitely going in.
And so like, yeah, like that, you know, that kind of stuff where it's like, you know, just this one little tiny joke with the song or with the lyric or with the whatever that I'm gonna like invest a lot into and hope that the audience gets it by what I'm doing. And then the other like if it's not a joke like that, if I'm having a hard time with something like that, then I'll usually lean towards like a clever costume reveal. So it's like maybe, you know, like a dress that comes apart in an interesting way, like it pulls apart in the middle, or it, you know, zips in half, or something that kind of like changes the conventions for which, like, you know, it's rather than it just being like a regular pair of pants that you unbutton and unzip and you like take them down. There's, you know, this other element to like removing them. And so I'll build an act around that as well.
Do you rely more on choreography, or do you prefer to just kind of freestyle up on stage?
It depends, I think, on the style of the act. If it's something that's really prop heavy, like I've got silk fans, or I've got like a certain prop that I have to like have at a certain time, then the choreography will play more heavily into it. But you know, if it's like a improv set in front of a live band, like that will, you know, that kind of thing will probably lead to me like spending more time with the audience and being more, you know, flirty and slow the whole time, rather than like kind of this like strict choreography that I have in my head. So it's kind of a spectrum.
Yeah,
of like
just to kind of flow with it.
Yeah, and it depends on where you are, because, you know, there's some stages, like the Bar Redux stage is, you know, a smaller stage, but it's also like almost on the same level as the floor, so you don't want to spend a lot of time like down on the ground doing your choreography if nobody's gonna see it.
Right. True.
Yeah, so it's kind of a whole. You gotta just like read the room, read the stage.
You know what type of stage you're gonna be on. Oh wow, that's fun times. So what type of you're more of a traditional, like, what type of animes and nerdy stuff are you into?
So let's see.
Cause all of y'all that have this, y'all have y'all certain little niche that y'all are definitely into heavily. And so what is yours?
I think my like, you know, heaviest, biggest, most intense like fandom that people would be like, oh yeah, is Star Trek. Obviously, I'm big on Star Trek. especially the original series. I could like write I could write like a dissertation about like the political impacts of the original series and like what like I have a lot more thoughts about that than I do of any of the reboots, even though I like them fine. It's just not. I'm like, but this was like important for the time and like you know. And then I think the other one, the other thing that I'm like super duper into is Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Buffy.
Yeah, because I just like.
That was that era, though.
Yeah.
Like, something was gonna catch you, and that you would have like this was your thing. Like you didn't stray away from that at all. My sister also liked Buffy. There was something else that she liked that she wouldn't. Oh, Cats. Cats was her shit too.
Yeah.
And like.
I grew up in New York City, so I'm like, I don't know about Cats.
You didn't give a fuck for Cats, yeah.
It was like running on Broadway too long.
No.
We were all like, no.
I didn't care for Cats at all, but that was her shit. She was like, yes, this is what I now to this day, even about all the rumors and shit about how it's terrible. She's like, I don't care. I'm going to go see Cats. I was like, all right, well, enjoy.
When Buffy was on and I was, in school, we didn't, I don't know, I don't think that we had broadcast TV for a long time when I was growing up. Like, we didn't get it until we moved into a slightly better house. So everything we watched was tapes, but I had two friends named, one was Anissa and the other one was Felicia, and we would get on a 3-way call every night after Buffy aired, and they would tell me what happened. So it's also like my knowledge of Buffy was like really like up there, and I had never even seen an episode for the first 3 years.
Oh wow!
Because they'd be like, all right, so this guy he's like a vampire. His name is Spike. He just showed up. It's like this whole thing.
Whoa!
But
that was. I don't think I had one show that I was really into like that back then. I would probably have to sit down and think about it. Which show I really enjoyed like that, but yeah, I did watch Buffy. Buffy was one of them, but I know there's something. But I can't say that I'm really into it because if I think about it, I'm like, well, I can't remember no episodes, so
yeah.
It doesn't.
There was
really
like a lot of stuff. Like I know that because when we did finally get a hold of TV, we would watch like all that what channel was that? Cartoon Network, like Adult Swim stuff, all the way through that. So there was like a lot of like Inuyasha and like all that. So, like I remember it, but I wasn't like into it. But I watched a lot of it. Like I watched it all.
Right, you watched a lot of it, but don't remember shit about it.
There's something going on.
I recently went back to the old things, and I was like, I don't remember. I remember I watched all of this, but I don't remember none of it. Yeah. And so I'd watch it again and be like, oh, okay, this was enjoyable, for the time. So I could see why I can get with it. But yeah, I just for back then, especially around that time, when like things that would, I think Charmed would come out around that time as well.
Yeah,
right?
Charmed.
Yeah, my brother was a big Charmed fan. Like he back and forth, he knows Charmed. I'm like, yo, I don't even watch Charmed. This is so weird because this is my older brother. And I'm like, you watch Charmed? it's strange, but he likes shit like that. So yeah, but yeah, it's that it was good times back then. It was some good times back then.
A simpler world where you could just watch your TV.
And not care or have to worry about shit. Nowadays, they're just trying to dumb things down for the kids that are growing up now, and I hate it. I hate it. Now, apparently, yes. Were you in the Thundercats?
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently now there's a third. There's
a new Thundercats.
Yeah. I'm like,
Have you
man,
seen it?
they
I
can't
haven't
just
seen
leave
it.
well enough alone.
They look really cute though. Like they're like little cute. They're like really adorable animation. I was like,
what are y'all doing? Y'all even gonna stick to the storyline? I don't know what's happening.
But also, Thundercats barely has a storyline. Like, I don't know if you watched it recently, but it's like, it doesn't hold up. Like, we watched all of, like, He-Man and She-Ra recently, and I was like, I watched this so much as a kid, and I have, like, this is not a story.
You just jump right in.
There's, like, a moral at the end that I was like, how is that, first of all, how is that what this was about? And second of all, why is that a good lesson?
They was trying to teach kids the wrong shit. Well, they would teach kids things, but nowadays that like those shit, the shit that they were teaching, like I don't think it would really happen. Like I remember.
Well, there's the stuff that's very specific to like the 80s.
To that time.
Like,
yeah, like don't go playing in refrigerators that are just lying around.
Yeah,
it's like I don't know if that's happening nowadays where kids are still getting locked in fridges because they don't understand suction. And so, and I don't think people just leaving refrigerators just out on the sidewalk anymore like that. I haven't seen that in a long time.
It must still happen though.
You think that would be something weird to see if you just I can't. Well, deep freezers. They got a lot of deep freezers that I've caught at a junkyard or two, but. Not any.
Did you check if there was a body inside?
I did not. I didn't want because
then you have to be involved.
I know what goddamn Katrina water smells. I know what a fucking fridge that has been locked in fucking just everything on the inside fermenting in the sun, and then you open that. That's one thing that made me gag immediately. I was like, all right, you know what? I can't deal with this, so no, I would know not to open any type of fridges outside that have been outside for way too long. No telling what's inside of it. Just the inside juices. No, thank you. I don't know, no clue how long it's been there, but pretty sure what's ever on the inside is liquefied by now.
Yeah, it's fine.
Good times though. Everything was to teach you something back then, and that was a time where shit wasn't really safe anyway. Like just how people were being parented and things. It's like, oh
go play in the junkyard deep freeze. Like make sure you're home before the street light comes on or whatever.
Yeah, we're not gonna watch y'all. Just make sure you come home when you're supposed to be home. It's like, oh, something's wrong with his head. I'll just give him these pills. He'll be all right. That's what the doctor said. It's like, oh, we probably should have looked into.
Yeah, I'm sure there was a lot of stuff that could have just killed us.
People, yeah. We're safer now, though. We're safer. We're learning, as a humans.
That's why I feel like there's this side of like people are like, man, all these like. Helicopter parents now, like, they're, like, really, like, paying too much attention to what their kids are doing, and, like, we raised them, and they were fine. Yeah. And I'm like, well, maybe they're, like, being so much more careful with their kids. Yeah. You let some bad shit happen to them. It was you.
Fine? Are you sure? Are we fine?
Are you sure they turned out fine if they're really scared about the safety of their kid beyond?
I don't think we're fine at all. I'm really worried. I'm like, the way I was raised, my head's pretty fucked up. Let me not try to make this happen for you, little one.
So wear a helmet. Yeah. I don't care if it doesn't look cool.
Get in this bubble, goddammit. This is going to keep you safe from everything, okay? I've seen it happen. Jake Gyllenhaal made it happen, apparently. We got it.
Yeah.
Fucking good old Bubble Boys, man. That should be a fun parody to do. Bubble Boy. I haven't seen a movie. When we gonna get another outrageous movie? That'd be good. Just something very outlandish. I don't think people would go for it nowadays.
Yeah.
People a little bit too, I guess, nullified to certain silly shit.
I think it's because we like, as a source of relaxation, so many people spend time on the internet looking at memes, like really absurd stuff. So when going to see a movie that's like that is like not quite, like it's not doing it for people anymore. It's like, well, that's fine, but
put it that way. I never even thought about it until just now. That does suck. Like, because the Dumb and Dumbers that they had, even though if you bring the other people back out, it's like, oh, you still doing this silly shit? Oh, okay. I thought y'all would have maybe stepped it up.
You
got with the times or
graduate.
like
we
that.
got to get the new people inundated.
God damn it. Man, see what the internet's doing? I didn't think you would. Well, no one thought it would get to something like this, but hey, it's fun though. This is interesting to see because I go back to those '80s movies like Remote Control, and Pre-Hysteria and shit like that, and it's like, oh, this is what people thought like of in the future. Like we're just gonna
like what we were gonna be up to.
Like, we got drones and shit. We got really expensive drones, but it's just like this is. We're using it for bad. we're not.
Yeah.
I wish we could be using this for practical uses instead of everybody canceling each other and shit.
It's weird to be experiencing like rapid technological advancement throughout the course of your life.
Yeah.
Like going from like not having a home computer,
right?
And then like we had one, but it was that black screen with the green letters, And then we like got a better one, and it had like a game that was on a disc. We were like, whoa!
When you think about it, yeah, that's really.
And then
wild.
like moving up to the point that now like the computer runs my television. It eavesdrops on me and my husband.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sends you things that you think you might want to buy off the internet.
It gets information from like my Facebook. It's crazy, and like it sends me advertisements.
Oh, and then the
it
TVs
reads
in
my
our
mind.
phones. And we also
like,
have the TVs in our phones. We can just take the TVs anywhere we want to go, like anywhere, anything we want to see. Like that came from beepers. I remember when we were just here, I would goddamn beepers and.
Right, and you could get like the really cool cases for
your
beeper.
The
like
clear
the
case that they just sit through and shit. Oh.
And then you had to run and find a payphone or a business that was nice enough to let you use your phone.
Can I use your phone real quick?
Like, no.
Gross payphones. That's when people didn't give a shit about germs at all. It's just like use this random payphone that we don't know whose other's ears been on. Nobody ever cleaned. Who cleaned payphones? Nobody cleaned payphones back then. There was nobody.
Nobody cleaned payphones for sure, but also like, how many people were cleaning their house phone either? Like, I'm like, the maintenance of a phone is something that I feel like is a new thing that we have to do because now people are taking their phones into the bathroom when it's gross. Right. So you gotta clean your phone so that it doesn't just have like,
Anybody ever tried to give you one of their earbuds before?
No. But that sounds like it's no good.
Sounds very gross, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got a couple of friends just like, hey, man, listen to this. It's like, hey, man, don't put your earbud in my ear. And then you're like, just take the headphones out. Let's just do it that way. Just take the jack out, dude. Yeah. Like, man.
We can just listen to it out loud.
Right. Like there's so much gunk on your headphones, and then you got white earbuds. Like I see it on you. You just gonna stick that in my ear? What type of bacteria you have in your ear? I know my ear is fucked up, so you don't want to just do that. Man, just without even asking. Don't just shove it in my ear, sir. But yes, good times, man. It's been good to see you, honey.
Yeah, you too.
If you want to, where can people find you at? Let people know what you're doing.
Let's see.
This probably won't be coming out. This will be some future shit, but
future stuff. So I'm on Instagram as CeCe Dynamite Nola.
There it is. Switching
it up. And you can look up Honey Tangerine Productions on Facebook. I have a website, honeytangerineburlesque.com.
There you go.
And that's like it, I think.
Okay. Is that CeCe like CEE or CICI?
CECE.
CECE.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. That's good to know. Because it's always different how people do that CCs.
Yeah. It's been the story of my whole life.
Yeah.
I'm like, excuse me. That is not how I spell CeCe. But, especially like the CeCe's pizza spelling.
Yeah.
It looks terrible.
Yeah.
And I'm upset about it.
I know a CeCe myself, and I do it. It's a SI, so it's like
Yeah, that's a good one.
yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't mind it, but it's just like this is like yeah, this is just it reminds me of Spanish. See,
Yeah.
and so it's like yes,
Yes.
so. But yeah, man, this has been Tell Me a Joke, the guideline of chasing the dream. I've been your host of Maniacal, Menace, Kyle Smith. Say like a whole thing like Pip Lane, stick back, man. Y'all have a good night, man.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Bye. Or whatever. Whatever.
Whatever.